know any of the answers
I'm the
to
worst at trivia.
anything.
I'm the worst at trivia. Unless it's to do with science, I literally have nothing. Okay.
Alrighty, and we are live.
Did you need it?
I did not.
Yes, we are.
Okay, welcome everybody to
Live.
episode 55 is what it feels like. My name is Lynn. This is Tony. We are Plastic Free Toronto. And on the call with us, we also have Adriana from Collective Impact Journey. And we have Fanny, who is a new friend that we just met today. And of course, we have our wonderful and lovely host, Jenn Harper, founder of Cheekbone Beauty. All of us currently are wearing her lip colors from the Sustained collection, which we absolutely love. But I will let Jenn tell you all about herself and what she does.
Thank you. Hi, thank you for having me. I feel like I'm standing in a rainstorm, which I am. So I'm trying to like listen to everything you say. So if you see me doing this, it's because I'm trying to hear. Yeah, so Cheekbone Beauty is a brand that I started back in 2016. And it's really been this crazy journey of how can I, or us as a brand, how can Cheekbone Beauty, how can we support Indigenous kids? Our mission and vision of our company right now is all about how we can help Indigenous kids see their enormous value in the world. So everything we do at Cheekbone is about empowering them and creating opportunities, educational, work-wise, as well as funding and empowerment to make them want to be the best that they can possibly be and give them the tools and skills and everything that they may need to do that. There's a lot of layers, but it's kind of just the gist of what we do. And we say we use lipstick to do that. As crazy as that sounds, everyone's like, why did you pick beauty or cosmetics? I don't know, except that I do like lipstick. So that could be one of the main reasons. And then learning everything I've learned about the beauty industry over these last 3-4 years has been really eye-opening, and seeing where some big changes could possibly be made. We all know that the beauty industry notoriously uses an enormous amount of plastic in all of their packaging. Even raw ingredients have things like microplastics. So my mind hurts sometimes with the amount of information that I'm researching constantly and studying. I'm not an expert by any means, but I do realize that there's figuring out ways to do something different is okay. And I'm really using the concept that is based on an Indigenous teaching about how we do what we're doing today. How will that impact our next generations, our children, our grandchildren, and what can we do differently so that their futures are made better for them. And it's all about like, it's I know you guys know this, but there's so many issues. We can't tackle them all, but we can just do little things every day individually and together. We all know one person's not going to change the big mess that humans have created for themselves, but we can make small changes, and then those small changes make a bigger change together, right?
Definitely, completely agree. And that sort of leads nicely into the land acknowledgement that we were going to do today, that we do for every episode. So we just really want to acknowledge, first off, that people have come before us, people will come after, and we need to be mindful of that. We are currently on the territories of the Mississaugas of the New Credit, the Haudenosaunee, the Anishinaabe, the Wendat, the Chippewa, the Inuit, and Métis. And we are called into a treaty with each other and with the land to protect it and make sure that there is enough to go around for all of us and the people who come after us. So that being said, part of the reason that I was immediately drawn to your brand, just to tell a little story of how I met Jenn. I met her at a Green Beauty event. It was Green Beauty Night, I think, put on by another Jenn from the EcoWell. And your table was sort of right at the front, and you had these like pink feathers laid out. And I was like, oh, pink, this is great. I'm going to go there and talk to this person and see what she's all about. And once you told me about not just like the, I guess, sustainability aspect of your brand in terms of the ecological footprint, but also the sustainability aspect of your brand in terms of the social impact, which is, I think, something that gets left out of sustainability talks a lot of the time. I was like, this is amazing. Bridging the gap between Native and non-Native communities in Canada, I think, is super important. I think it's absolutely mind-boggling the injustices that we still see on so many levels that continue to be perpetuated now and will in the future unless we do something about it. It's crazy. So that's what I wanted to ask you about, the charities that you've been working with, or that Cheekbone Beauty has been trying to work with to help Indigenous youth and fund their education, etc. I read on your website that you guys are hopefully going to be doing a scholarship opportunity in the future. Amazing.
Yeah, there's like every time I think about our purpose and the reason why, I love that you added that sustainability is about people just as much as it is about the planet, and that side does not get talked about as much. And as Indigenous people, I'm thought of this as a brand, and how are we going to sustain our communities, and that has to start with our youth, and that's why we focus on them and empowering them through all of these different platforms. And so the one that we started working with the organization from the beginning is called the First Nation Child and Family Caring Society, and they're based out of Ottawa, Canada. And they are run, or the executive director is a woman named Cindy Blackstock, and she is the epitome of like Indigenous values and principles. This woman has been fighting for the rights of Indigenous kids for well over a decade. She's actually taken the Canadian government to court to say they don't treat First Nations kids fairly. And part of that research on our part as a brand was discovering that there was this huge discrepancy between funding that goes to kids on reservation versus funding that goes to like my kids that live right here in the Niagara region. And it was huge. It's like 30 to 50%. And so in so many cases, and then talking to my family that lives on reservation and understanding how underfunded their schools are was really eye-opening and heartbreaking all at the same time. And I know that, you know, these issues are huge, but if I didn't know about it as an Indigenous woman, how is anyone else supposed to know about it? And so that's when originally we said, okay, let's use lipstick as a way to have these maybe really uncomfortable conversations with the rest of Canadians and Americans, because this discrepancy is happening all over North America and globally for that matter. But how can we make something good out of something that seems really, really awful and bad, and just at least start a conversation. I always claim, I'm like, I know I'm not a solution, but I can be helping or be a part of something that's possibly better. Or all I wanted to do originally as the founder of the brand was, I said, if I could just make the difference in one Indigenous kid's life, that's all I wanted to do. And I know that we've been able to do so much more than that now by the emails and the conversations I get to have with these kids all over North America. Just seeing their faces on a brand, you have no idea the power that that's having. Like, I had an email from a mom who adopted a Native little girl, and she came home from school, and the mom had bought our lipstick, and we send the postcard, and our models are Indigenous, and the little girl was 10, and she saw the postcard and she's like, "Mom, these models look like me." And the mom said for the rest of the evening, this little 10-year-old girl was bouncing around their home because she just felt that postcard had just made her feel so good about herself, seeing people that look like her. So there is so much power in that. And that's a conversation that, you know, we're just starting to open the can on those. We now realize that representation really, 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 really does matter. And I mean, all over Instagram, people are representing whatever they believe in, whatever they love, and showing their faces and who they are. And that is really important for people that are struggling with who they are, or maybe not knowing who they are or where they come from. So just creating this platform that lets these kids see themselves has been the most incredible work that I feel like I've been able to do in my career. And I'm so grateful that I am allowed and have the privilege to do this. And so aside from that, we give 10% of all of our profits to Cindy Blackstock's organization. And to date, I think we've donated just over $8,000 and in cash donations. And then over these last few years, we have donated, we're now almost just under $20,000 of donations in beauty products to, whether it's First Nations organizations, youth shelters and women's shelters, or women's business community organizations, we've been able to donate that much product. And it's only because of the amazing support, much like you beautiful ladies that have supported our brand and talked about it with other people. So I'm so grateful that you're even allowing me to have this conversation with you today.
I love that. I think I completely agree. It's all about starting these conversations because I think education is always the first step to tackle any issue. So I love it. All that said, I think we are all ready now to get going on our urban gardening. So that's our topic for today: how to start a little veggie garden at home, even if you don't have a big, huge open space in your yard, or if you don't.
Yeah. You could literally, even if you do not have a balcony, if you have a window, you can do this, right? Like, so it's so important to understand that. I think sometimes we tackle things and think we need all of the best, but I love that whole concept. Even so with business, I realized in the beginning, I started the business with $500, which is a really small amount of money when you think of starting a business. And I love the concept of let people realizing that you can start anything with nothing, like really believe that. And even like everything that we're using today, I'm going to drop the phone down. Like these are just jars from that wasn't supposed to happen, but those are just like jars from leftover jams or whatever, canned goods, or any sort of, this one was from like a red pepper jelly that you buy when you have friends come over, right? So you can plant these seedlings in just about anything you could find in your cupboard, a glass, a cup, or anything that you have. So I love that idea that it's possible to do anything with literally nothing, right?
That was my first question, actually. We were going to use jars because we've got a bunch, but then I was wondering, is it possible to use something big like this and do multiple seedlings and then, I don't know, or is that?
Totally. Anything that will hold the soil, essentially. Because what this is, it's like, I believe it's 7 to 12 days, just depending on the seed, that you're literally just putting this, and the seedling will start to germinate after that amount of time. Once you actually see the plant start to sprout, that's when you can move it to a bigger pot. So just starting, you literally can put them in anything that is a vessel, basically, right? So
if you guys have guys kicking around, I've seen people use those too.
Yeah. So we're going to start with just the soil combination, which is really, really important. So we just talked about the containers. Once you move from the seedling container, the next stage of a container, you should make sure there's really good drainage in that pot that you change your seedling to. So whether it's going to be a bigger pot, like I have, so you know when you pick up plants from the gardening shop and they all use these things, right? You save them and then you transfer your seedlings into bigger pots, into these. And then these, if you don't like the look of just this thing, this can rest in and out of any planter or potted container that you can buy that you may want to be more aesthetically pleasing, but you don't have to at all, right? It's not necessary. Or this can rest on a plate, like a dinner plate from your kitchen. You put these in your apartment near the window where you're going to grow your tomatoes. And specifically with tomatoes, once you start the seedlings, you need to move tomatoes to a much, much bigger pot because tomatoes grow huge. And then this could literally rest on a plate, and the drainage, the holes are already in the vessel. So you know you have good drainage. And other tips for good drainage, once we transfer seedlings, later on, we obviously won't be doing that today, but is adding rocks. So any kind of rocks that you can find, you can add to this as well, and that creates good drainage for the soil. So now moving on to the soil, it was a combination of 2-part organic potting soil for vegetables or plants and 1-part compost. I use sheep's compost only because it's what my mom always used. And it's so funny that we inherit these, the ways of doing things from our parents, but she always used sheep compost. She told me it was the best one. So that's the one that I use. I don't know why. And another great tip from my mom that I always do now as well is adding dried wood chips to this combination of 2-part organic soil and the 1-part compost. And what this does is, because potted or container gardening or planting dries out so quickly that you need to maintain moisture. Because I think the way a lot of us actually kill plants is by not watering them enough and realizing that potted and container plants need a lot more water, or watered more regularly than your regular outdoor garden, right? So adding these dried, never treated wood chips, which I got at the pet store, and they were from like if they went into a hamster's cage. So they're not treated wood chips that you would get at like Home Depot, because when they treat the wood, there's chemicals and all those sorts of things that you don't want to add to your garden, because then that is going to change the pH level of your soil as well. So I don't know all the details about pH level, but I know you don't want those chemicals from treated wood in your soil. So you add I always do like a couple handfuls into my soil mixture.
Jen, can I ask you a quick question?
Sure.
I often have nice containers, but they don't have any drainage in them. Is it right? So annoying. And is it okay to put to still use that and just put rocks in the bottom, or is that not really ideal?
No, you need the drainage. So either going to the garden stores and asking for these, or just making sure you keep them, and finding the right sizes that fit your pots that you already have. Some pots, I asked my husband to drill holes in, the new fiberglassy ones that they make that are more, but you wouldn't be able to drill a hole in like a ceramic pot, right? Yeah. Or clay, because it's going to crack. But the drainage is really, really important. It's and I think I just fell in love with gardening maybe about 10, 15 years ago, but it's been like a process of just learning as you go, right? Because you don't know what's going to work. And different areas I've learned. So now when you learn about the soil that you like to use, or like I said, the sheep's manure, you kind of stick with what because that's what's working as well, right? So, because different soils I learned over the years don't work. Or at least I was blaming the soil anyway.
Thank you.
Okay, so mixing in the wood chip, and then I'm gonna move over here. So I was fortunate enough to mix up my soil earlier this morning. So it's the 2 parts organic vegetable soil with the sheep compost, and you will see now just at the top, you'll see the liquid fleck. And I'm going to keep this in my garage. I'm fortunate because I live in the suburbs that I have a garage. But when you mix up your soil, you can actually keep it in like a bucket or a bag, and keep using it once, because you're going to start your pots for seedlings and then you're going to transfer. So you're going to need more soil, right?
Jen, can we ask you another quick question?
Yeah.
Sure. Penny was just wondering what the best month of the year is to start growing things.
So for seedlings, you can start literally in the winter. It's all up to you. My husband's cousin, who actually lives in our same neighborhood here, I loved what they did in their basement. They have like a little hydroponic greenhouse thing happening where he plants with his kids, which how beautiful of a lesson is that right now if we're homeschooling kids, right? They start the seedlings in the winter and they watch them grow with the kids, and then they transfer them to the garden once spring comes. So you can literally start them anytime, just depending. So for us right now, when you start this time in the spring, you're not going to get like your prime veggies until like July, August, right? Tomatoes, August, only you got to wait, but it's so worth the wait. Like I don't even like eating a tomato any other time of the year. Now, the best is like that tomato, mayo, like really good bread sandwich that you have in August. Little salt and pepper. So good. I haven't had breakfast yet. I'm getting hungry. Yeah.
It's tomato, mayo, and a little bit of cheese. I wish I ate that like every day for like a year when I was younger.
It's something about the combination of tomato and mayo that just is so amazing.
Yeah. And the bread has to be toasted. I don't know about you guys, but I need the bread to be toasted, right?
100%.
The mayo like sits on the top layer of the toasted. I don't know. It's so good. So good. All right, we're gonna have to eat after this, but not tomatoes because they're not good yet.
No tomatoes.
And so speaking of tomatoes, my order from Mackenzie Seeds did not arrive. So I don't even have any tomatoes. So what I'm going to start the seedlings off with is lettuce, because lettuce is actually one of the easiest things that I've discovered in terms of gardening. Lettuce is the easiest thing to grow. And specifically, you know, those lettuce bowls that you can keep on your porch, you trim the tops off when you need it. And once July and August comes, you'll just keep trimming it and your lettuce will replenish itself. And then it finally does end. And kale is another great thing to plant in a container. And the most beautiful thing about kale, which I learned a couple years ago, is it keeps growing well into the fall and in the winter. I went out and there was snow on the ground and our kale was like huge and massive, and it kept coming back. It never disappeared. And leaf lettuce is the same thing. So leaf lettuces will just keep replenishing themselves, and it's just this beautiful abundance of gorgeous veggies all summer. Okay, so
Can I Jen, can I ask one question about the kale? When you leave it over the winter, does it come back in the spring? Like you don't need to replant it?
No, it's one of those things that keeps coming back. So this is what I'm learning as I've gone over the years. There's things that won't come back. They're definitely annuals, but chives, parsley, I just cleaned out a planter box this morning and found parsley, and it was like this beautiful flower of parsley. I'm like, oh, it's coming back. So things like dill come back, but dill you don't want to mix with other herbs because they take over. So there's certain, I've learned over the years, you want to sort of separate things. So dill is a great planter box item because it won't take over your herb garden if you're actually leaving it in the earth near your home.
So I have a quick question, Jen.
Sure.
So that's exactly what I'm going to start, as a little herb garden, but I'm wondering, what are the best herbs to pair together in one container?
Okay. So how I learned is literally went to, you know how the grocery stores make them for us?
Yeah.
I went and I like wrote down, okay, what did they have together? Because you know that those would be the best together, right? Or I'm sure you can Google it. I don't know offhand, but usually like thyme and rosemary grow beautifully together, right? And those are herbs, and it's really interesting, and this fascinates me about nature, is those are things that are like great flavors together on a chicken or on vegetables, right? Like, so I'm like, it's so interesting how that works, that they do grow well together. And then you'll find like basil grows well with oregano, and chives. So if you look at the pots, or if I'm sure if Google would be more helpful than I am right now, because I can't think off the top of my head. But yeah, there are definitely some things that grow better together. So pot ready for our seedlings. So you fill it like halfway. You don't want to overpack it. You want to make sure the soil is nice and loose before you put your seeds in. And we're going to do the lettuce as mentioned. So we're going to do leaf lettuce because I love planting that in the actual, I'm going to transfer it to a pot for the porch later, but this is one that will keep coming back. So if you are capable of doing like a bigger pot or a more rectangular one with leaf lettuces, I think it's a great idea, because you just would, we could either do that. Hold on, you're going to do it in this to start your seedlings for this kind. So you just sprinkle a little, and then you're going to cover it. And then we're going to water these later. Once we get everything done, we'll water everything at the same time. So now it's covered. Seeds are in the pot, ready to go. It's like that simple. And people always ask how many, and that's what I was always curious. I look at it as strangely as this. We know with the fertilization of a human life, there's a lot of seeds that go there, and it's whatever ones win, they win, right? So same with gardening. You put a whole bunch in, and there will be some that do sprout.
That was my next question.
I know, I always ask, and I'm like, I'm like, well, this is how human life starts, or any animal life. So let's just shoot a whole bunch in this pot and see, not too many, but enough that there's some get a chance, right? And so I'm going to just walk you over to the larger planter. So I have this more of a rectangle one, which could be perfect on your patio for lettuce. And how you would take the seeds. So we already have the soil halfway in, and you literally sprinkle the seeds so they're going down the center. And you might have to mix it up a little bit. I just took my gloves off. So
Sorry,
they'll be
Jen,
all,
can you
it'll-
tilt your screen a little bit more so we can actually
Oh,
see the
sorry,
soil?
there. How's that?
Good.
That's perfect.
Yeah, so I went down the center with the seeds, and then we're going to put the soil on top, the mixture with the chips, and water that. And this is a great way to just have this constant flow of leaf lettuce all summer in a small space, right? Okay, so we've done those ones.
I have another quick question. I used, hang on, I'll show you. I used a like toilet paper. Okay, is that like, it looks like it's probably time to shift it over. Is that right?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, for
Okay.
sure. But
Cool.
what an awesome idea.
That's well, I saw I can't take credit for it, but it also does look a little bit like moldy. So I don't know if that's a good idea. But but
So,
anyway,
well,
I mean, it grew, so
yeah, it is paper. The roll is just paper. You should be able to plant that whole thing.
yeah.
And,
I can see
as long
how.
as yeah, no, and then you should be able, because the bottom's cut off, you should be able to just plant that in your garden without having to
Oh.
remove the paper, because it should
Oh,
compost. However, I
right.
just want to make sure, before I say that, if there's any glue residue on the roll, that might be a problem. That's the only thing. Like, that's the one thing with composting you have to be careful of. Paper is totally
Yeah.
compostable as long as there's no glue.
Right. I'll have to check on that.
Yeah, but I think, like, and think about that, because when you just plant that, all the roots are going to just shoot out from the bottom and hit the bigger container you put it in, or into the earth,
Okay.
wherever you put it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks.
And when did you start yours? That's exciting.
I can't take credit. My husband, like, we put everything, we're borrowing a cat right now. So everything is like in our room so that we can keep an eye on it. But we started, I don't know, a few weeks ago, I guess. Yeah.
Yay, they're ready. They're totally all ready to go into bigger stuff for sure.
Yeah.
Maybe tomatoes might take a little bit longer, I think, if you have tomatoes, but they look
Yeah, we do.
good to go. That's awesome.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm excited.
Okay, so that was leaf lettuce. And the next thing that I wanted to do was I grabbed wheatgrass, because I add that to like my morning smoothies, and I've never planted wheatgrass, so this will be a new try for all of us. Oh, and I just realized I can't do this one yet. You have to soak. So make sure you always read the instructions on any seeds that you're working with, or if you're buying them from a local nursery, to make sure you have the instructions, because with wheatgrass seeds, you have to soak them for 6 to 12 hours before you germinate them, or try to. So, and it's important to label. That's one thing I didn't bring out, but I'm going to do that. But label each item, or if you remember and know what it is. And because what you're going to want to do once you create your seedlings, you're going to want to make sure when you're doing that herb garden in that pot on your deck later, that you know what to put with each other, right? So labeling is huge, or just having a really good memory.
We have a question from someone watching on YouTube. How much sun does lettuce or kale need? I'm in a north-facing condo and get about 3 to 4 hours of sun in the late afternoon. And also, how large a pot would you need for kale?
Oh, so kale, I would definitely start your seedlings in however you do, but I would move it into a big pot, because it grows like, it grows like up to 3 feet sometimes, maybe 2 feet. It grows pretty big. So make sure you move it into a big pot. And then when you're trimming it, it will just keep coming back. You're going to have like a nice supply of kale. And how much sun? So I'm just trying to think. 4 to 5. I think 4 to 5 hours of sun should be good enough. I'm just remembering where it did so well on the one side of my house. We are south facing. Yeah, I think that's enough. I think that's enough. 5 hours a day, as long as it's getting 5 hours of sunlight a day, as much as possible, right?
Yeah, we were surprised at how big all the things in our garden grew. We had no idea. Last year, we literally just were like, let's just put some seedlings in the ground. So we got them like already sprouted. And then
Overcrowding is
yeah, it was so overcrowded. We had kale, we had Brussels sprouts, broccoli, beets, and then herbs, but like all in like a small patch of garden, thinking, they won't grow that big. They were huge. Everything was like climbing on top of each other.
Yeah. So overcrowding, that's a big no. So it's important. And when everyone starts out, we all do it. I've done it where we totally overcrowd. I had my first year was 6 tomato bushes that were way too close. And then it was like this massive tomato jungle, right? And they grow huge. Like these are the ones that are going up poles that grow so big. So it is important that all the directions are easy to find on all the package of seedlings. And we are on YouTube. We know YouTube is our friend, right? You can always find somebody that's having the same problem as you or wanting to do it. But seeds, they're pretty amazing. And I personally, I love the whole concept of watching something grow from a seed to fruit, right? So you get to reap the benefits of your plantings. So
wait, before you go, we're having the dumbest revelation right now, which is the fact that seeds are literally the seeds from the fruit. Like these are squash seeds, which is literally like the squash, you could save the seeds.
Yeah.
I had never thought about it. And bean seeds are actual beans, guys. The beans are the seeds. Who knew?
So I love that you're just discovering that. And someone, we were talking about the creator and how when, we're struggling as humans, there's an overabundance. Think of a watermelon. From one seed, a watermelon grows and you're getting literally over 200, 300 seeds in that one watermelon. So I love that whole concept that there's always a replenishing supply of things from nature for us. Like that's never ending. And we're so well taken care of when it comes to anything that comes from nature.
Oh, I love that. That's beautiful. Beautiful and true.
And I love how they just discovered.
I'm literally dying.
This is like an aha moment.
Yeah, I kept thinking like, oh, I need to go out to a store and buy all the seeds that I want to sprout. But then there's already so many things in my house that I could use.
Yeah.
We have this lettuce. We get it from the farm and they send it like in the root.
And
I could just plant this and then have lettuce.
Yes. Yeah. If you take, you do that in your kitchen, that you've ever the test of where you put the green onions, the bottom stalk of the green onions, put them in water and you watch it regrow. Like it's incredible.
Yeah, right? That's what we do. As soon as we bring it home, it goes right into a jar of water and then we use it and trim it and they grow really fast, surprisingly.
Yeah. I love it. That's awesome.
Also, I only discovered the seed thing recently as well, just so you feel better, Tony and Lynn. It was only maybe last year, but you do have to do certain things to some of them to actually preserve them, to seed them. So be easy on yourself.
Yeah.
I have a random question for all of you that's unrelated to gardening kind of, but I was just thinking the other day, given that everything does grow and food is in a sense in abundance if we know how to grow it, and that also it's the one thing that all of us need as human beings, like food and water are just basic needs that every person should have. a random question for visioning the future. Do you ever think that food could be free, given that all of us need it? And like, no one really wants to be like, no, I'm going to eat my dish while you starve. Feel free. Like, no one actually thinks that way. No one actually wants to let anyone starve. So then why does food cost money? I don't know, random thought.
I don't think food will ever be free for like a higher reason about economy and government that needs to make money. But I do believe that if we get knowledge, we can be totally sustainable, self-sustainable as everyday people.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. With humans in control, there's no way that that's even possible because of greed, right? But if we actually taught everyone how to grow their own food, then that's how we create sustainable communities, right?
That would be amazing.
I think that's definitely where we can come into that topic, because there's such a hierarchy, like you were saying. There's such a monopolization of the whole seed industry and the food industry in general, and that power is not easily taken away from big corporations and big business. So it's a big fight for sure. But if we can grow our own food and we can learn to sustain ourselves that way, that kind of gives the power back to us.
Yeah.
And I think once you realize how abundant food is, you want to be more generous with it. Like, our garden was more than it could be, like, it was more than enough for us. So at the end of the day, what are we going to do? We're going to give it away, because once we've satisfied our own like need, that's the only thing left to do, is to be like, have some kale, please. Like, everyone who came to our house would be like, go take some kale. So I think starting to grow your own food really, I don't know, it changes your relationship with food. And I think it's so powerful in its capability to spur generosity.
Mm-hmm.
Love it.
So everyone's coming over to get some kale. Is that what you're saying?
Precisely. we're probably going to garden properly. So we might even have more things than that.
No, it's an amazing concept. It really is. Like, when we have an abundance, you know, we have it to give. I love it.
Yeah, and imagine we all had that. If we were all gardening, we were all growing our food and all sharing with each other the extra that we did have. How beautiful that would be. It's a nice thought, actually, even if you're buying things now and just kind of growing aside, but it's a nice way to reduce food waste as well. If you go to the grocery store and buy a big bunch of basil that you already know you're not going to get through, break it up and share some with your neighbor or with a family member right off the hop. And
well, it's a whole, like, when we take the time, which I think we fail to do in our regular lives, is think deeply on stuff. Like, I know with us on and me as the founder of a brand, I'm trying to push that concept of just like think deeply and differently about everything. Like, don't believe everything anyone says to you, but thinking deeper on stuff. And this is part of that deep thinking. Like, think about when you have too much, we all know that whole, I read a book about scarcity a couple of years ago and how it really affects marginalized, impoverished communities, because that concept of scarcity creates the humans that grow up in that way to hoard and hold on to everything. And it's really hard for them to become abundant in terms of, okay, I don't have anything, but I'm still going to give. But like, when you think deeply on those issues and matters, you start to realize, oh, it's all about how you're thinking about something. So if I actually just want to be a more giving human being, I totally can do that by just giving, right? Regardless of how much you have. So it's literally moving yourself from the equation and really thinking about other people, right? But it's hard because I love this time that we're having during COVID, when you're at home and you're pulled out. We were all pulled out of our normal routines and schedules. And now hopefully we're forced to think deeper and think differently about stuff.
I just hope lots of change continues to happen.
I do believe that lots of people are going to change their life after the whole COVID situation going to go down, because people are realizing that there is much more behind working for someone else. So like, there is much more behind working and money. Like, you can enjoy life with little, with less, and still be happy.
Yeah.
So I think it's for the best. Like it's what humans need to realize that we don't need much to be happy.
Yeah, and we have access to a lot more than we tend to think we do. I think even since we've been home, we've been getting really thrifty and crafty and using what we have for the most part at home, which has been really nice as well. Our first thought is not to run out and grab anything anymore. It's to look around the house, see what we have.
I hear birds chirping. Sorry, I'm just like, ooh, where's that?
Yeah, I was like, is that a soundtrack? What's going on? Who cued the soundtrack? So nice.
Birds.
There are a lot of birds around me. We have some really big trees outside of our house, so there's always a lot of birds chirping. Beautiful.
I love it.
Sorry,
So
Jenn, I keep interrupting.
No, I'm like, we went through the basics. Now we have to just, we'll water these and we're going to watch them grow in 7 to 10, 12 days. We'll get to see some green stuff. We make up a dance about happy plants. Yeah, it's raining. So I'm literally going to transfer mine and put them out in the rain and use what nature is providing to help us grow these, right?
That's smart.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, it's raining here too. That's a great idea. For anyone who watched along with us on YouTube or will watch this in the future on YouTube, if you want to share the growth of your plants with us, we would love that. And in recognition of one person who watched the episode and shared something about it, we'll be sending some seed paper so you can grow some more things, some wildflowers and some herbs. So yes, feel free to tag at Plastic Free TO, or at Cheekbone Beauty, Cheekbone Warrior, and let us know how all of your plants are going, or just something you learned, something fun you learned today, because I learned a lot.
Absolutely. And also, Jenn, you need to tell me what color you are wearing, because I love lipstick. And if I can buy lipstick and feel like I'm supporting something that is important, that is right up my alley. So please, please share that color.
Yeah, it's called a KEE, which is the Anishinaabe word for land or earth in the language of my people, which are Ojibwe people. But Anishinaabe is the word for our language, which encompasses the Ojibwe people, the Odawa people, and the Algonquin people. So it's one language spoken in a bunch of different tribal nations, but it changes variously in terms, we all have our own slangs. But a KEE, A-K-I, a KEE.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Someone's also wearing a different color too.
I'm wearing ashkeek.
Yeah, she's wearing ashkeek. Ashkeek. So that's on the land, meaning on the land in the Cree language.
And which one are you wearing? Are you wearing one too, Lynn?
I am. I'm wearing a KEE. I should have worn Kea.
Yeah,
And then
and that Kea is land in the Navajo language.
I love it.
And then is it your lip glosses, Jenn, that are named after Indigenous warriors and activists?
So our liquid lipsticks, we have 19 shades, and they're all named after Indigenous women that are doing incredible work within their communities. So the first one we started out with is the iconic, incredible Buffy St. Marie, and it is a really nude, like in the buff kind of color. But then we have 19 more, and they're highly pigmented, powerful shades, and each shade has a story on our website about the woman that they're named after and why we chose that.
You may have just converted me to actually wear lipstick. I never wear it, but I'm like, oh my
Do
God.
not buy it. I always say that. Do not buy this unless you're actually going to wear it. This is.
But I really want to now.
It's so hard.
No, you'll probably wear it, because the thing is, there's so many good colors. A lot of the reasons why I didn't wear lipstick before is because I could never feel like there's a good color. I feel like it's like, oh, this looks weird. It looks like, I don't know, like you put on
that looks
makeup. in a weird
beautiful
way.
on you.
But
Yeah.
all of the colors, I don't know what whoever does your pigmentation is like fantastic, because there's literally a color for everyone. Like the Kea is actually my perfect nude color. You almost can't tell when I'm wearing it. So,
Yay, that was.
And it looks really weird on me, but this one looks great.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
It does.
I love that. I love knowing that. That's awesome. Yeah.
I can't wait to head online and check them out and read all the stories, and finally buy
there's
something I can feel good about.
incredible women out there, and you know, for our communities growing up personally, I felt like I didn't have role models. Like I actually didn't even know about Buffy St. Marie as a youth or a young woman. And I feel that that was a disservice to me, not knowing that there's other amazing Indigenous women out there. So that whole representation portion. So these 19 shades are literally my gift to these Indigenous youth to say, here's 19 role models, women that you could possibly want to be like, and they're incredible people.
Has anyone else felt like on the edge of tears throughout this conversation a little bit?
Yeah.
I cried this morning on my bike ride. Never mind. It was one of those workouts where I know there'll be a plug for Peloton, but you can get the app for free right now until April 30th. And you can use it for running, cycling. Their whole thing is they have the bike, but the rides and the instructors, you know, like about Soul Cycle, it's like that. Like I was the last 3 minutes not thinking I could finish this ride. And this instructor, Robin, had me sobbing, but I got through it. And like, I start my day like this every day is on this bike, and it's been life-changing. I say that to people. I'm like, you know, the whole COVID thing has been life-changing because I was, you know, you can't go to the gym. That's part of my routine. What are you going to do? You go outside, there's too many people out there, and you don't want to be, you want to be practicing the social distancing, obeying, you know, our health officials and helping end this. And we found this bike and I was like blown away. Anyway, I love the community. The app's for free. You can check it out. I'm keep telling everyone about it because it's like life-changing workouts.
Community, which, you know, we're about.
I just didn't ad for them. They should like. I'm seriously. I've talk about it for free because I think it's amazing. I think it's important to find things where you feel connected and feel accomplished and feel okay with even the pile of mess of mistakes you've made in her life. What she was talking about this morning was literally like connected me to something with my childhood. And I think that I was like, oh my goodness. And I'm sweating and feeling like you can't get through the workout, but I did. And anyway, it was amazing. And then I came up and I'm like, what a great way to just start the day.
Yeah, sounds like it for sure.
Get it all out and then go to work.
I love it.
It was like therapy.
Thank you for spending time with us today. Before we let you go, we have some very important questions for you. This is what we call our trivia lightning round. You just answer based on your preferences. You know, it's groundbreaking, really. Alrighty. Forest or beach?
Beach.
Cardio or weights?
Ooh. Oh, cardio.
Pancake or Belgian waffle?
Belgian waffle.
Ice cream or gelato?
Gelato.
Correct answer.
Dancing or singing?
Dancing.
Lipstick or lip gloss?
Lipstick.
Favorite sustainable life hack?
Favorite sustainable life hack?
Yeah.
Using the like shampoo conditioner to do like shaving my legs, everything. You don't need to buy any extra products to do that sort of stuff.
That's a fact. You never leave home without blank.
Cell phone.
Beyonce or Rihanna?
Oh, Beyonce.
Backstreet Boys or NSYNC?
Backstreet Boys. It's way too sad that I answered that so quickly, but they're on my like.
These are my answers too. That's so funny. Thank you so much.
Thank you. This was so fun.
And thank you to everyone who tuned in. Thank you, Fanny, for joining the Zoom call. It was so nice to meet you.
Guys.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Have a great day, guys.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for having me. This was exciting.
We were very excited to have you too, Jen.
Thanks, guys. Have a great day.
Yes,
Thank you. Bye.
Bye now.
Bye.